gentleman is my cousin. Where's Sister Jennifer? Sister Jennifer. This young man, Sam, hold up your hand. He lives in Middletown, New York.
Oh my God, that's Puerto Rican territory.
And he comes all the way here to buy his books periodically. And I raise that to say that just as we can support and should support this bookstore and any bookstore where we are, where our people are, we should encourage our people wherever they are to support what is out and each other in every capacity. When you have it, refuse to support other institutions that are selling our products, and intentionally purchase your merchandise from our people. When we support each other, we support our causes, we support our people, we support our issues, we support everything that matters to us. Other people are not going to do that for us, and we have to do it with intentionality. It costs money for him to come all the way here. He has to get on Metro North. He has to take a cab. He has to take time and energy. He has to leave his family, take a day off from work to be here. So he's losing money. But he's building community. He's showing that he loves us, he loves you, and that's what we have to do. We don't lose when we do that.
That's
so
right.
We're going to go forward and make sure that this bookstore will live, and it will grow, and it will thrive, and we will, because we are invested in our people. We love Jennifer. We love that she had the tenacity, the will to keep going, even though nobody was showing up. So now we will intentionally show up every day. Even if we don't have it, we're going to save our pennies to come and buy one book or to come and make a donation. If I come and buy a can of juice, I'm going to do something to support this institution because it's ours. And
That's
she's
right.
ours. And with that, I rest and I thank you.
Thank you. All right, brothers and sisters, if you don't know who this gentleman is, you're going to know by the end of the day. One thing, I've learned to appreciate things from different people, even if I don't like what they've done historically. And one thing I notice about white folk, as a general trend, is they have a way of honoring their greats. You could be 100 years old, Mick Jagger, with teeth falling out and falling on stage and wrinkles, and he'll still be at concerts and they'll still be buying tickets to see him. They don't get into this, oh, he's old, he's used up, right? And that's something I think is important, not just for our entertainers, but for our, I'm going to say our leaders, our advocates, our community activists. This brother here is so well-rounded in so many circles. First of all, if you like poetry, you like hip hop, you like what they call spoken word today, many of the pioneers of that come out of the 60s and 70s, the Black Arts Movement, Gil Scott-Heron, and a lot of bad brothers and sisters. But you also have the Last Poets. We all clap it up for the Last Poets. This is one of the original members of the Last Poets, right? Also, you know about the Black Panther Party and the Young Lords, right? And that kind of relationship they had, starting in Chicago as a gang, becoming more of a social justice revolutionary organization in New York. He's a former chairman and co-founder of the Young Lords. But he also has some magnificent poetry. He's also been a journalist. I mean, he has a memoir coming out next month. We're going to send you all digital flyers if you give us your email addresses. He just does a number of things, and he does it at such a high level, kind of like a modern day Paul Robeson-ish. Does so many things at a high level and has a heart and love for the people. And if I could say this, as a black man, as a new African, so to speak, I really appreciate his humility, his cultural humility. He always says, this type of music, this type of music, this type of music, we revere in the Latin community, but I understand that it has African roots. It's descended from Africa. And that's, to me, that touches me, because that says that you're humble enough to say, it takes nothing away from me to acknowledge the greatness of other people. And he sees himself as Afro. I don't know if you say Barincan or Puerto Rican, but
I say Black Latino, Black Puerto Rican.
There it is.
Yes.
Family, without further ado, speaking on the issue of black, the need for black and brown solidarity, and actually he can speak on whatever he wants at this point. Whatever he speaks on, we're gonna learn from. Please give a strong hand for Baba Felipe Luciano, please.
First of all, I want to thank you And I want to thank God for having lived this long. I have a birthday November 24th. I'll be 76. It's hard to believe that I've entered as many battles as I have and have not been injured seriously. I've had bones broken. When it rains, all my bones hurt. Because so many of them have been broken by police. But I thank God that the DNA in my family is such that we recover fairly quickly. That's number one. So I give thanks to the ancestors, to God, because I think what's happening, and I'll just parenthetical, I think what's happening is we've lost our moral center too. As people of color, we don't want to deal with this too much. But if you don't have a moral center, if you don't have a metaphysical center, you're bound to go off. Got to be careful. So that's the first thing I want to say. Number two, let me thank you, the community of color, the black community in particular, Puerto Rican people too, for always having supported me. One of my brothers, Angel, is in the back, who I've known for these 30 years. Always takes care, always supports me. God bless you, Angel. Thank you for coming. Now, let's discuss this black Puerto Rican, black Latino thing. I have never understood why it's a problem. Never. I was raised with Southern black folk in the projects. When they came up here running from South Carolina, running from North Carolina. Remember, most of New York is North, South Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia. Most. Very few come from Louisiana, very few come from Alabama. But that's who I grew up with. They were sophisticated. Many of them were sharecroppers. They had a sense of physicality that was different than Puerto Ricans. In the 6th grade, I was dealing with cats who were 6 feet already. They spoke Gullah. They were Geechees, especially if they were from Charleston. They had a pride about themselves that was different. I began to understand that there was a conflict in color when I was growing up. People have problems with if you were very dark. I've never been in a crowd that did not have dark people in it. And when I say dark, folks, I'm not talking about dark. I'm talking about blue, black. In fact, I went out with a girl. I used to look for that kind of black that was translucent. You ever seen that? Their skin is so smooth you can almost see your face in it. That kind of black. So I grew up that way, and I couldn't understand how people didn't go into each other's homes, eat rice and beans, pigeon, what do they call it? Black-eyed peas, okra, kale. I didn't understand how it didn't happen. But what happens is as people begin to immigrate and come over, they begin to separate. And if you don't pass the information on to your children, they don't have the same affinity for each other. For example, and I'll say this before I get into history. I was brought up in the Foster, the Long Island City, and the Brownsville houses. It was so intense. The intimacy was so intense. It had nothing to do with, we were brothers and sisters. I would walk into Miss Keel's house and sit down and she'd give me chicken neck bones and butter beans. Now, I don't know if you know about neck bones, but you got to really struggle to get to me that. You have to struggle because you have to go in between those little bristles and bones. And she would put a cup on my head. This is the way black people used to cut hair. Put the thing and use those clippers. I don't know, what was it called? And I used to go like this. I said, I don't want that kind of hair. She would smack me in the head and say, your mother doesn't have any money, fool. This is what you're going to get. And I used to go to school like that. I learned compassion from black people. For example, one day I was sitting down. I hope I'm getting emotional doing this because I'm bringing back all the memories. I would sit down and they would talk to me about the white men who would be after black women in the South. And we had a sister who was a deacon in one of the black churches. We used to have Sunday meetings. So my mother was Pentecostal, Spanish Pentecostal. They didn't want black people in the services, so they would do it on their own. But I would always end up in Miss Catherine's house, especially if my mother was beating me. Now, I don't know how many of you know what Puerto Rican whippings are like. I've heard about black whippings, but they're nothing like Puerto Rican whippings. My mother would hit me with whatever she had in her hand. That's the way it was. A lot of people got knocked out. She would say, the devil is coming to this house. In the name of Jesus. And she would kill me in the name of Jesus. I don't understand. How can you love me so much? And you say you love Jesus and try to hate me? She said, because you're doing wrong. So I couldn't do anything in the Pentecostal church. You can't. Everything is a sin. Baseball, jazz, going to the movies, grinding with them girls, which I used to love to do. All of that was a sin. So I was going to be part of that too long. And in those days, family was about who defended you and who stood by you. Yeah. Not skin color and not origin. What did Al Sharpton? I remember somebody said, "Skin folk ain't no
kinfolk, all skin folk ain't kinfolk."
Skin folk. So I learned that early. Now, the one thing that black folk always admired my family about is that we stuck together. As much as I couldn't stand my brother or sister, if anyone put their hands on them, it was an automatic death sentence. Most of us knew that. Puerto Ricans are known for this. I try to explain to people, well, it's not that their DNA to death. It's that we are such a small island, 30 wide by 100 miles long, that we have to defend ourselves. There's no other way to do it. When the Spaniards came into the island, they took it over and they raped our women and caused all kinds of problems. You know what happens in 1492 when they came in, right? Mm-hmm. There were several million on the island. By 10 years, they were decimated, maybe 300,000. That's how bad it was. Having said that, I noticed that there were problems, not with my generation, but with the generation that came after. Every so often, I'd come across a Muslim-like ideology. Now I was born in 47, so I was growing up 57, I was 10 years of age. I was hanging with the cats on the street. We played Scully, we played Kick the Can, we played Ringalerio, you know what I mean? Hot peas and butter. These were cruel games, by the way.
Yeah, violent.
This was not recreation.
Yes,
it was crack top, the pea shooters. I did not, and neither did they, understand that there was a cultural divide. I just didn't understand it. Later on, as we began to get more and more into black nationalism, the guys started understanding that there was a difference between them and Latinos. Now, let me say now, in their defense, I understood because a lot of Puerto Rican mothers did not want their children going out with black men, or vice versa. That was the truth. If you brought a black man into the house and you were a fine Puerto Rican girl with long hair, your mother would jump on you. No es cierto, Ángel. They would jump all over you. Don't you bring it? They would be very nice because Puerto Ricans are ultimately very polite. Oh, do you want coffee? After that, you get your ass kicked. Don't you bring that boy in here no more. And that was the same boy who would defend your sister, the same boy who would defend you. Yes. By the same token, there were some West Indians, some of them lived up here, who couldn't stand Puerto Ricans. Thought they were trying to be white, thought they were white. It was ridiculous. Let me tell you a little story, though, and how a lot of this was knocked down. I went to jail for manslaughter because one brother over in Bushwood, we had moved to Bushwood, had messed with my family. I had told him, please, I'll tell you what, I will join your gang when there's time to join the gang. Let me be a part-time soldier because I just came from California, and my mother rushed me over there because she saw that I loved battle. Now, when you're small like me, and you're a little smart, you get picked on a lot. So you tend to go with the gang thing, You want something to distinguish you from anybody else. And I was known for being ferocious in battle in that I wouldn't give up. So this guy, when I came into the community in Bushwick, which used to be almost totally Puerto Rican, tried to recruit me, and I said, no. I don't like you guys that much. I'll tell you what, if you want me to join you, if there's a problem with someone from outside the community, I'll join you. I didn't know he had it in for me. Folks, be careful with those who befriend you. You never know. If there's a love-hate relationship, you never know. They'll love you and care for you, but they hate your guts, and they want something bad to happen to you. He was like that. And he was known for his brutality, and they had gone downstairs to beat up some Puerto Rican guys. These Puerto Rican guys beat them up, and they ran upstairs looking for a scapegoat. They caught my brother and beat him half to death. When my mother found him, he was unconscious, and it was difficult. We were a family of 4. My mother was on welfare. My father had left when I was 3. So I was the protector, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you know what this means in Puerto Rico. It means you have to kill. There's no if, buts, or maybe. The moment someone comes near your family, you take them out. It's not a question of just beating them up. You take them out. So I knew that the boy who did this was dead. I already knew it. I had never killed anybody. I had never beaten them to a pulp beyond recognition. But I knew it. In my heart, I knew it was over. The Puerto Rican code was vicious. Once you go, you see this in jail all the time. Once you go, I thought I went until death. It's not happening anymore. Sometimes I wish we had that today. Only because Latinos are so abused these days, no one understands we for real. Once you understand how real this stuff is, you don't mess with them anymore. There were some folks from South Carolina like that. And the reason I learned it in my blood, and I'll get into the other stuff, is because when I was growing up on 112th Street and between 5th and Lenox, those geechees would say, baby, because I used to fight like this. And they would smack my hand. Say, what is wrong with you? I'm going to break your damn pinky. Don't fight like that. And I used to get pushed around, because I was a yelling nigga. I got pushed around a lot. Finally, the brother said, look, man, we let you hang with us, but you can't punk out like you're doing all the time. Every time somebody comes up who's bigger and looks funkier, you want to cop out. They said, you better learn to fight, man. This is where it's at. And so these boys from South Carolina taught me to punch hard. They said, first, number one rule, understand this is the black code. Number one rule, never be intimidated by speech. I don't care what they say. In fact, as they're talking, punch them in the face. That was beyond me. I never knew that. Harvey or what is his name? Was it Harold is talking stuff, and I'll kick you, and I get scared. I mean, don't listen. As in the middle of his sentence, punch him in his face. Number one. Number two, size does not matter. Take him out. So I grew up like that. It was strange for me. My mother used to see I used to come in with all kinds of bumps and bruises. But they liked me because I was game. I was ready for it. Now remember, this is all black men raising me. And the one thing I learned is that sometimes it takes you to do something vicious for people to understand what you mean. There was a guy from South Carolina who used to come to, I don't know how many of you from Harlem, he used to come to 116th Street in Lenox Ave, used to sell watermelons, oysters and shuck them, clams. I used to sell peanuts. He would bring them up from Georgia. Older brother, very nice. He would give us peanuts on the side, he'd warm them up. We loved them. But some of the brothers on the block would always try to take him off. Now this guy was from South Carolina. And he said, and I would say, why you look at him? I said, they're just kids. I said, but they're nasty. He said, all right, let them go. It got to a point where he told, listen to this, he told one guy, this is how I got immersed in black. He said, boy, you keep this up, I'm going to cut you to the white meat. I never heard that phrase before, but it scared the hell out of me. Because most of the cats I knew were dark, I'm going to cut you to the white meat. How can you cut somebody to the white meat? One day, during the summertime, they came up on him and tried to rob his truck. And he said, why do you guys come from nice families, da-da-da. And this boy was stupid. You ever seen those guys who are real hard-headed? They just think they're bad. He had a peach knife. Baby. He flipped it out it was like this. And all he did was this and walked away. I said, what? It was like a samurai, swallow style. Whoop! I walked away. He walked away. When I looked at the guy, sure enough, this was all white, bleeding like crazy. He was screaming. He said, I'll go tell your mom. Because I know you ain't got no daddy. So go tell your mom. And I'll tell her too what's happening. That's when I began to admire the humility and the courage of black folks. They'll take it up to a point, and then that's it. Now, with Puerto Ricans, what I learned was family. Let me tell you something about these people that I belong to. They are a tribe that is so incredibly loyal, it's almost ridiculous. I will be loyal to Angel. If you accuse him of murder, he's still my brother. I don't care what you say about any of my people, I know what's happening. And I know some of them are nasty, and I know some of them are really vicious, but these are my folks. That's something I try to teach the young black children. Family loyalty is real important. Black folks sometimes lose that. What did he do? I don't care what he did.
Right.
He's black, so support him. Well, they say he raped that girl. Well, wait a minute. Let's look at mitigating circumstances. Let's look at this before you start, killing people. So I learned early that we are a people who are admired because we stick so close together. All of you know Puerto Ricans. You hit one, you got to hit 100. Cops know that in East Harlem. They'd come for that girl who said her husband beat up, she's pregnant, and he smacked her, and they come for him, and as soon as they start to pummel him, the pregnant woman jumps on them. But wait a minute, you called. Yeah, but that's my husband. It's deep. The loyalty is deep. It's island bred. We only have a few people on Puerto Rico, so you got to defend what you can defend. That's it. I learned in Puerto Rico that we did not take the Spanish lightly. I don't know where this myth came up that we didn't fight. We were fighting from 1493 until the very end. And a lady there, we call her cacique. Cacique means chief in Taino dialect. She said, Felipe, why do you believe your people didn't fight? I said, because I don't know. I just believe we're not used to physics. She said, that's not true. And she showed me the caves the Puerto Ricans, the Tainos were in. Caves. And they fought until the very end. Some of them went into the island, in the interior. Some of them went to other islands, but they fought all the time. Where this myth comes that Puerto Ricans not fighters is beyond me. Any jail you go to in this state, they will tell you that boy's crazy. Joaquin, he's not well. Little short boy, spiked hair, walking around like this. We call him Hirado, but he's a bad boy. So the myths that were developed that came out of Puerto Rico as knife cutters was not exactly untrue. The knife was our only weapon. We didn't have guns, but we had knives. I don't know why people run away from that. We didn't sing "I'd Like to Beat America" all the time.
Right.
But we fought hard. And in Bushwick, in Williamsburg, in the Bronx, we fought hard. And any Italian will tell you, you mess with a Puerto Rican woman, you got to deal with us. You mess with my little brother, you got to. Anyway, long story short, this guy came up to, got beat. The guys went up to his house. They beat my brother half to death. I went the next day to fight him, and I was scared. He was a brother, light-skinned cat, and much taller than me, and very brutal. And I called my cousin. Once I called my cousin, he was head of a people called Little People Chapter. I call them Little People. And from the, what was it? The greeting. And they came over. Now, here's what I want to point out. These were all black men. They didn't care that guy was black. What they cared about is the loyalty they had to me, to my mother, and to my family. So we did him in. One of the guys stabbed him, killed him, and he died. We never ratted each other out. We were there. I'll never forget it. There was no one as we were in the joint, no one said, man, you Puerto Rican, I don't know why I'm doing time for you. No one said that. This was the gang we were in. That kind of loyalty, I don't know if it exists anymore. But I do know this. If we don't begin to get this together as blacks and Puerto Ricans, as blacks and Latinos in this town, we're not going to have victory. Right now, we have the opportunity to take Harlem. We got Dominicans all over this place. We need to start organizing them. I know you think Puerto Ricans are the majority. They're not. Dominicans run this town.
That's right.
They're in the police department, in the fire department, in the stores. Just from here, from this block here, go all the way up. It's all Dominican. Rarely will you find a Puerto Rican. And they're very, very loyal to their culture. Yeah. Try not to make them black. It's not going to happen. Beating them over the head is not going to happen. It takes time to introduce them to negritude. The reason I became black is because I was loved by black folks. That is, you can do more with love than you can with ideology.
Mm-hmm.
No one had to tell me that I was black, but if I went up to Miss Teal's house and I was hungry because my mother was on welfare and we didn't have enough to eat, I'd go up there and wait at the door for Parnell. That was my boy. That was her oldest son. And I would sit there, I'd come in exactly at 6 o'clock. I wasn't stupid. Stand right by the door. She said, Philip, are you hungry? I said, no, I'm not hungry. She said, look, your lips are white and your breath is bad. So you must be hungry. and she would put out those that beans and black eyed peas I love them to this day. She put it out to eat, baby. I knew they didn't have enough, but I fell in love with black people by the love they offered me. It was a love they offered me. I wish they had that toward themselves, but for me, they loved my black behind. I couldn't do anything wrong. In fact, in the young lords, when I ran into their houses, sometimes the cops come looking for me. They say, "We're looking for that kid that put his out." I don't know that boy. Who's that? Felipe Luciano? I don't know him. And they were all Pentecostals. I'd be under their bed. Cops would leave. They said, the lady Miss Killswould say, "You made me sin. I lieded to them. Now I got to do penance." She would prayed, "Get out of my house.". But I loveed her draw. I loved her. When you have that kind of love, you cannot. How do you translate that to the new generation? How black folks who marrying into our families would find themselves jammed up in Brooklyn, and as soon as the daughter his girlfriend would call us, hey, they're ready to jump on Harold, we all go down. And it was another black gang, we said, another Puerto Rican gang, said, no, I don't think so. No, but he's black, so what? He's part of our clan. If I could explain to you the deepness of affection that we have for each other, it's stupid. It doesn't make sense, but we're stuck together like glue. I have musician friends, Jerry Gonzalez, who would start fights, talk a lot of doo-doo, and I'd be right there beside him. Now I knew he was wrong, but I'd be right there. Any numberr of times that happened, especially in the young lords. There is something of love that we need to translate to these kids. I don't know what it is, but we don't eat with each other anymore. How many of you can say, I go to my boy's house every week, and we have rice and beans, or peas and rice as they call it. Mm-hmm. The only way you get to love someone is to understand their rituals. You sit there and listen to them. You don't know about Pentecostal Puerto Ricans because you don't hang with them. I know what Jesus only and the black folks, that kind of stuff. I know it. I've been with them. The church is a big part of black people's lives. So here's what I've learned from being around black folks. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I don't understand it. I have Cubans, Venezuelans, Africans. What is wrong with them? Why don't they hurt that guy? Why don't they go after him? I say they just have a love thing going. It's a Christian thing. But they just killed 11 of their people. Black folk have this inordinate. It's inordinate. I really think we are the angels of the planet. Because we do not go out to stick this boy 75 times. We don't do it. Black folks, when they go to kill you, they go demand, did you? Bang! They don't riddle you with bullets. It's one time and that's it. And move away. I can't say the same about Puerto Rican. We'll cut you up 3 ways. So what is it about black folk that doesn't allow them to become beasts? Beasts. Strange. And I want us to remember that. This is something that I've never understood. There's a guy that comes into a Charleston, sits with the people, prays with them, and shoots 9 of them, kills 9 of them. And the next day, that day, they said, we forgive him. Folks, I got to tell you honestly, I don't think Puerto Ricans would do that. I know I'd be looking for him. And I learned from Jewish Americans that loving doesn't mean no justice. It means you have to have justice. If there's no justice, then you can be taken off by anybody. And when they say no justice, no peace, I understand that. That's what's happening in Palestine now. There's no justice, there can be no peace. So when I say this to Puerto Ricans, they're a little number, and certainly the Colombians, and certainly Ecuador, they don't understand. You mean to tell me that black people let people, they kill their kids, and they just say, I love them, it doesn't matter? Something's got to give. Somebody got to get cut. I've never understood that, and I admire black people for that. I don't know how they do it. How can you just kill that boy? I have to be careful because I have that kind of a temper. On the other hand, black folks will tell me, where do you get this adhesive, this emotional adhesive to be so close to the people you talk about? I mean, y'all are too close. One guy told me, I hate fighting Puerto Rican. I hate it.
Because if I hit one, it looks like they come from the tenements. They come over the roofs. They all come at me. He said, I don't need that shit. I fight with him. I don't got to fight the whole crowd. But the loyalty that we have among Puerto Ricans is legendary. Let me put it that way. I don't know if it happens with Dominicans. I don't know. I know among Puerto Ricans, it's legendary. To this day, if I get a call from one of my old guys, look, strap up. I don't even thinkk about it. Little story. I'm in Channel 5, Big Bay, New York. My boy, the one I grew up with, CC, old number 1, tells me, look, and I'm doing makeup. He's like, I used to youused to finish? becauseedid I used to youused to Iused to Isaid, no, I got two 2 more thingses. He'sayes, "As soon as you'reedoneneshhhhdone't shhhdone't shhhdoneت 've come over. I didn't't't even think about it. Now I'm making money. I'm on TV TV I'm on TV 'I'm not supposed to be be doing this 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 stuffh 'But'But it 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 but saved God his mother get taken off. By me mainly That's the way it was. I don't't see that anymoreE Now, in the beginning of this relationshipwe we had a situation here where blacks and Latinos were very closeose. Very, very very close. It was black folk who befriended us, especially those people from 'South Carolina. They like rice, and so we got along with them very well. Anything with rice. Also, people from South Carolina basically Geechis. They have a different style about them. They're friendly, they're loving, they like seafood. We got along real well. And a lot of us intermarry. To this day, if you come up here around here, this area, you'll see some kids and you look at this, that boy got mixed parenting. And usually they do. When I go and ask some of the guys, who's some Spanish guys, usually some Puerto Rican guys. But you never know. So in the beginning, the first real black and Puerto rican unity that I can think think of was aroundnd aroundh                        harlem                             deep. We talk about Schomburg a lot, but there were a lot of people. Noble Sissel, Schomburg, Rafael Hernandez, Juan Tizo. Juan Tizo was a trombonist for Duke Ellington. He arranged most of the songs. He was fantastic. And they had formeded the 369. Listen to to this. The first World War I band was 369 Regimental Band, and they had some of the greatest musicians around but they couldn't find people who 'd read music that well. So what 'they did is they looked around for Puerto Rico, in those days, because in those the ', ause 'cause 'incredibly rigorous, you had to     to learn              learn to lear              le rafa  learn learn  read  '.  Juan           Tizo ended ended  one of the leaders of      So now already we have the 369 fought in Europe. By the way, when you were in a band, it didn't mean you had to fight. And                               d And the 've never                                  'never. Blacks and Puerto Rican fighting together. After that, when that disbanded, World War II comes on. Of Of course, there was was and a lot of black folks began to understand understand and a lot of of Puerto Ricans began to understand a lot of Puerto Ricans didn't't 'ndn't't want  'n
not want to be                         Alpiss understand    'd
Eventually, we learned to live together to live together here, especially in the projects. And there was a sort of tacit agreement that we were in this together. I said there was no need getting mad at each other. To this day, when you look at some of the babies in these homes, have any of you watched this? You can see it in this house. A black woman with a child who looks Indian. It's a Puerto Rican baby. And so she's walking with, I always ask her, yeah, he's Puerto Rican. We have an increasing number of intercultural Americans. What I hope is that they at least teach their kids a little bit about Puerto Rico. Because very often what happens in these relationships is that the kids understand what black history is about, but they don't understand anything about Puerto Rico. That bothers me. During the period of the Black Renaissance in the 20s, we had a guy named Schomburg. All of you heard about Matthias Schomburg, who was told by his teacher he had a German father and a Puerto Rican mother. And he was told that blacks had never contributed anything to the world. So needlessth to say, he started picking up artifacts and books and stuff and became a veritable historian just based on the stuff that he collected. Eventually, the New York Public Library bought it, and it became the Schomburg Library. Even he was put through changes as a black Puerto Rican. Even he. How people can be a little cruel. You're not really black. You're not really black. I remember when I was in jail, they said, you got a little Yahoo blood in you. So I don't know if we can trust him. It took a little while. It took a little while for them to understand where I was was coming from. So Schomburg was here in the black. He could not live in East Harlem. People asked, why didn't you know anything up here? Because in East Harlem there was such a color differentiation. I don't know this, but we still have color problems. I can give you 10 names for color among Puerto Ricans. 10. Dominicans got 25. We got 10. You name the shade, we gotta name the nose, we got a name for it. We name the lip size, we got a name for it. It's crazy. But you're able to differentiate based on that, and the Spaniards did that, by the way. They did it for a reason. So that we can have people hate each other. And to this day, we have that. It's lessening among Puerto Ricans. It's lessening among Dominicans. Dominicans still have a great portion of it. But now, more Puerto Ricans are black and eyed. Part of the reason for that was a movement. We don't think of it like this, but in 1945, bebop had hit. Now, who are the 3 pioneers of bebop
Dizzy Gillespie,
One,
Coltrane,
Charlie, not Coltrane. Come on, y'all.
Bebop.
Thank you. Monk.
That's her family.
That's your family. touch me. Monk. It was Monk, Dizzy, and Charlie Parker. Those are the 3. They had told Dizzy Mario Balsa was the head of the Machito band. Machito used to live on 106th th 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 h and 2nd Machito still is not recognized as one of the greatest band leaders, composers, and arrangers in for more of an arrangement than anyone else. Rafael Hernandez, who was in the original 369 Regimental Band, was arranging for Machito. So the sounds were if you listen to Machito of the 50s, it blows. I play him on my radio program. I can't believe it. So now, Dizzy hears about this guy from Cuba. He was already famous, and Chano Pozo. In those days, the drummers were partial thugs. They were big and threw their weight around and pounded those drums without screws. So you had to heat it up. So your hands were kind of rough. And Dizzy told me I was back there in Lincoln Center when they had put on a concert. And I said, well, when you met Chano, what did you do? Chano was blue black. Um, he said, when I heard the first rhythm, the first, and by the way, he was also a composer. When I heard it, he said, I was done. Can you imagine being Dizzy Gillespie coming from, what was his town? Columbia? He lived near Columbia, South Carolina. I went around it. My brother lives around him. And you hear 12 all of a sudden you hear doom 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 pop 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 pop. He said it blew his mind. He said he has never been the same. He said he never heard that before. It was a conversion. He got the Holy Ghost. He had never seen it, but he had never heard. He said, Felipe, from that day on, it was like what happened is the African consciousness that all of us should have coiled its way into his heart. When I go to a bembe, I got to be careful. I was raised Pentecostal. I'm not supposed to believe in this stuff. But when I go to the streets, I start getting the shit. Who's coming? I know something's calling me, y'all. Something. There's something there that I can feel. Nobody's gonna tell me that's not real. My mother says that the devil. But when you hear these guys playing, you hear them chanting, it's serious stuff. There you go. That's the devil. Now, so Dizzy meets channel, and this is the first solid unification of Black and Latinos because they start to get together and they put our conscious. Norman Granz decides to put them all over in New York. It was historical. He changes the whole facee of not music. And it becomes not only blackanized, it becomes Cubanized. Because the Cubans ended up with more black folk from the slave trade than any other than Brazil, they had the most. By the way, Brazil has more. Of course, they'll come in varying definitions, varying shades, and I like to slide, but they got more black folks than Africa. We have to understand that. Brazil is as big as the United States, yo. Hello? I'm gonna say this again. Brazil is as big as the United States. I don't know why people think they're Brazil. If you look on the map, what they've done with maps is they make Brazil small and they make Africa small.
That's right.
When you look at Africa, it doesn't look. Africa's huge, huge. What is it that connects us? First of all, Dizzy said it was the rhythm, and he's right about that. Most of us come from Congo, which is the middle of Africa, the Homie part, and the Yoruba part, Western Africa. Most of us come from Congo, which is the middle of Africa, the Dahomey part, and the Yoruba part. In Cuba, they were very distinct rhythms, but they were together. They were a very strange combination. Mongo Santa Maria had grandparents who were Yoruban and Congolese. I don't know how many of you have heard Congolese music, but it's incredibly intricate. Very intricate. And what they would do, listen to this, some of them were Bantu. Rather than trying to attack an African elephant, anything African is harder to train. Anything. Elephants, tigers, whatever it is in Asia. It's hard to train. That's why you got to give Hannibal credit. Hannibal had 10,000  10 10 African 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 and cross 10 10
and elephants are basically docile creatures, very nice, very beautiful, and pathetic creatures. But if you mess with them, they do only one thing. They knock you down and they put you to head on you. I saw a film with Congolese, and what they would do is the sound that Coltrane has is what they call And what they would do is and they'd do that for an hour. And eventually the elephant would be lulled like this with his head, and he'd be lulled by the harmony. And as soon as he was he was they hit himed with it with poised poised. That's how how he was considered bushmeat. Now I know where Coltrane got his sound from these. It's nothing new we have two traditions. So we have two traditions. So we come from that. What happened is, I don't know how we ended up messing up this way. Only 500,000. Only 500,00 came here to the the United States. Most of them went to Brazil. Most of them went to the Caribbean. If you look from Belize all the way to Honduras, you go to Mexico, there are blacks all, it's amazing. It's amazing to you. In fact, they weren't allowed to they weren't participate as a separate group. They now have 've  've 've 've separate 've 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 'veve 've 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 ve 've 've in ve e There were so many blacks in Mexico at that time. There were so many blacks in Mexico at that time decided that we need to import Europeans to bring them in to lighten this ebony up, this molasses up, and they did. That was the got lightened up. I don't know why we think we're like this, but they 'd in Irish, they brought in Italians, they brought in Belgians to kind of calm things down. And by the way, calm things down. And by the way,
I don't mean to make this racist, but whenever they want to calm African bees, guess what they do? With who? Mexican bees. They mix them with Mexican bees. They wait for them to mix them with Mexican bees. So the United States government thought, because it was serious at one point, it started in Brazil. The African beast situation. Some guy knocked over a hive. They ran after him for a mile. Some guy knocked over a hive. They ran after him for a mile. Because they won't stop. They will not stop. They keep after you. So they said, let's mix them with Mexican bees. And they did. What happens? The Mexican bees became African bees. And I don't know why this makes sense, but all I know is that when black folk got together with the Indians from Florida, from the Native Americans in Florida, they became the most formidable force in the United States. Andrew Jackson could not beat them. Listen to me carefully. What am I saying about blacks and Puerto Ricans, blacks and Latinos? As soon as they got together, Africans and Latinos, they could not. Jackson tried his best to get the slaves from there. He said, "I want my people, I want these slaves. The fugitive slave law." And Osceola told him, "You want what? You want me to take the slaves that came to our tribe and give them to you? Then you must want my wife." So they never won that battle, folks. What Disney said is true. We need an epiphany. We need to understand that this music that you hear in the streets, I know the Dominicans get you mad, they get me mad. But it gets me, folks, listen to the music. Learn to dance to it if you can. Because in the old days, you couldn't hang in my group if you didn't know mambo. You couldn't hang. By the same token, if you didn't dance to Smoking the Miracles, you were out of it. Something was wrong with you. How could you not dance to Maybe It's All in My Mind? It was wonderful. Safe sex. Can I have a tissue, please? Just paper towel. We are together more than you think.
You want some water? Good. Water?
No, I'm fine. I'm gonna end this in a little while. Thank you, ma'am. No, it's the allergies I have. Don't think it's anything else, y'all.
Time of the year.
All right. The second stage. So the was coming here. By the way, folks, before we start talking about who was here first, and I'm blacker than you, do you know that the first black folk scene in the Americas was 1508? Henry got He was a free black. He came with the Spaniards. 1508. The first blacks that came to this country was 1619. So Latino blacks had been here a long time. Whether they want to admit it or not, they've been here. Why are we discussing who's black and who? That's 111 years, man. So I tell Puerto Ricans, tell them I've been here, I am black. I've been here from the very beginning. That's what we have to tell our kids and arm them with knowledge. The problem is we're not giving them the real facts. Also, why is it that we have these color problems when we have black folks who are so light as to almost be white? What is it about us that does that? I used to get mad at my brother, man, that's why. Shut up. She's Puerto Rican. Yeah, but she looks so what, man? And yet all of them want the data, right? What I'm saying is this. We said black is not a color, it's a feeling. Folks, believe that. I have seen Puerto Ricans who are white or light skinned. They have African in them so deep that when they get into the drumming, it's scary. Jerry Gonzalez, Angel, when they get into the drumming, your skin starts to crawl. You say, where did they get this from? Spat, 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 and then man, I get scared. We have no right to do that to each other. I don't know what happened with American black people, but we decided to color separate ourselves. Well, he's like, and I don't know why we do, because we still have that. You know, there used to be a brown paper bag thing that if you didn't have that color, you couldn't hang. We still talk about who's black and who's white. We still talk about who's's's's still talk about who's black and who's dark women. I don't care 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 Porque para mí if you you still have these problemas, and we have to root it out. You got to be honested it out. I think that the the instancece of Black and Puerto Rican togethernessess's togethernessess's 's s was9 rothers and I had brothers of mine Jamal Josephhho did 9 hvehhhh 9 years. Who saved saved timeed People me people askinged meingkingve peoplelded. You know know when I walked into that group and told Down and people he didn't't't he he didn't't want to We didn't't have those if you could spit, do the poetry, that's all I So I started writing instances of my poetry that so so're then one day I got so mad at Then one day day I got soidghthome'shhhing 'llghtght>>> I'm something to I 't't't it. And that's why're I This organization helped elect the first black mayor in the history of Jersey, and it was Kenneth Gibson. And I was there helping all the time because I can tell you this. if you want instances of institutional comminglingling, check out the Last Poets, check out the Committee for Unified North, and check out the Last Poets. Those are the 2 instances where we came together institutionallyally institutionally to fight against the Panthers institutionally and you would come into the that it was a brown brownwnhhdust had already left. Every bus, whateverver whatever where are 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 they had already left. Man, You don't
You see see those's horseseses. You horseses that they Hannibal from Whyhy do we this to ourselveseses we hhhhveeded Egypt't't  ed fromeded fromed fromed fromeded fromeded fromed fromed fromed'sed I was I was 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 to I was was years. And if you but you you Forgiveve me. Tell our our children, yeah's I messed our childrennn our h
Jesusus is just an African with Jesus And by the way, if you want to really hear And not when you really form other than I'm not saying that jazz is not to an African art form is not not saying to Latin to Latin to a authentic rhythms coming straight't out of If you go to a Latin dance hall, see, "Wait's is this? You say, "So wait, what is this? Is this a tribal ritual? Whether it's bachata, mambo, or songo, whatever it is, they kick it. That bell that you hear is the bell that you use unbelievable. he has a shekere. They used to do that. They had a jaw. They killed the mules. And that would be the shekere it. We are an African people, whetherher we're are an African people. Nowh Nowhsomeme ve people Some people people like to be black. That's the neww thing nowhh now nowh they want to bee they want want ofhvevehs narrative Of but of but of but but of but of but of but they don't't't identify with the with the black You undervelopeded theveveveveedve developed the narrative ofveveveve developed theveveve developed the narrative of bullshit. We have ashitt it. We haveve Beautiful We we I've seen seen I seen So they don't So 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 When you don't have discipline, I'm that's why you can go crazyy That's why we needededh'shhhhheded men in Oh, we needededededededededededededdedededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededededede
real.
They are big. And they go to the gym and work out. Big and stupid. They don't read. They don't care to read. So you got to go there with a a bat and say, I will hurt you. Okay, Unclele Felipe, okay, man man, but she got me mad. But it's crazyy. We need to come together togetherher together togetherher and understandstand. And by by the the same thinginghhhhhinghh the thehhhhhed truehve are truehh of of the the coming in. The new have new'reve cominging in have more 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 from theirrsh The 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 have you seened themesseses them have you seen them themes seenes Have you They know what what the what the They still have men still still have men by way way we by we we up The men Sundays Sundaysys's Sundaysysysys on They in with with they and have go to Neverhhve ve I'how can you How can you how you how can you 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 get so so highhhhhighhh even even thoughh even 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 church I'm going to say to say 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 I say say noticecevehhing Iheaded I don't I don't don't careve I don't care're care care if I don't care 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 need I don't don't knowhvehve I don't 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 I don't 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 I don't I don't don't I I have it I I don't don't I I don't 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 I have it. As blackk folk folk, we we have when you have you have kidsds on pastst when youast you you're'rehh's's're're're no no You get mad at all you get when they go go past when they go past the have you 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 because they're'reh they're're're're're're're're're're're and they're're are they they tell them them them, them, I don't don't thinking thinked thinkle've11616thth th1616thveveveveveveveveve From 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 Lennox Avenueue Avenueue from Brothers walked in and and just just Changed everythinginghing Whateverver they did it on the other side of the the street it sometimesres it sometimes sometimeses takeseseshh a it sometice a little it forward thinkinging to move to to the I don't believe that violencecece but everyone in a whilehhve How many timesess many youhhhhhh nothhh not to touchhhhhhhh toh to touch you you thinklylylyh Suddenlyly, I'm not saying that I'm not say as a habit, but but every every that child have to know that child I don't think think I don't think think I don't think I don't think Now, it shouldn't be like my 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 mama. My mama, I think it was something was wrong with it. energy can be blasted and made into a constellation. It's amazing how you find out these things. But her first of you you didn't't't't that was 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 I see people do that your I tell the other kids your your little rememberber those
Word
Put two Bibles in your hand and 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 I almost fell out. I almost fainted when she said, "Don't you dare fall out on me, boy." It's crazy. My father still has, deep impressions on his knees through the way he used to get beat. That's the way my mother used to beat me. One time my sister acted up with my my brother up up with my brother my brother. And she slammed. In those days, there was wooden doors, and she said she said she and callededheded and called them in the oiled from the rying oil from the and put the oil the oiled it my sisterr sisterr Sheed, "Puerto They're're're're're're're're're're're're're're're're're're're're're say Puerto They're not well"Black people. This is This This is shit It was we we call Torturered. It was is unbelievableablealed theunlibeableableed. The Spanish
The
At one point one one point he wasedhed aggressive. It's justed that they were're way they hey 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 bitch
ignorant. They have no idea of what can happen. We do, because I was raised in this town when Giuliani was was in power, and they were nothing, and they were doing nothing. We have no idea. Before black folks start saying, I want Trump in, think thinking about it carefully. Thinkingk about it carefully. Biden is old, yes he stutters, yesih, butI'd much rather have that liberal. I'm not saying he's's a revolutionary revolutionary. Much rather have that than this guy. What is it about us that makes me? It's not working. But we got a lot of Puerto Ricans that are moving down south, and let me tell you something, they become somebodyes. I don't know what happened. They want to be hip to the Cubans. We know each other. In fact, let me tell you something. I'll end with this. You know a lot of Latinos don't't like Puerto Rican. We're black enough. We have to teach them. I go to my barber shop and teach them every day a new thing about Puerto Rican history. They've done it for years. So I leave you with this. Any questions you might have? By the way, I have a book openinging November 28th at the Union Theological Seminary, 124th and Broadway. Baba, before you begin, let's give a hand to Baba Felipe, please, for beautiful presentation. And let me just ask, Sister Yah, do you have an email list going around, a contact sheet where we could sign up? I have one if you don't. It's crudely done, but it'll serve the purpose. Let me get it.
Remember, November 28th,
And
what we'll do is we'll send you the digital flyer. You have a whole month now to get ready for this. A whole month away. Give us your information. We'll make sure we send it, and we need to pack that house. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
At Union Theological Seminary on the 121st and Broadway. Yes, it's part of that.
And there's one more thing before we go back to Baba Felipe. Family, this sister right here, y'all, just wave your hand so they see you. Sister Jennifer, also known as Yah, she's the proprietor of this bookstore here for 24 years, almost a quarter of a century. Clap it up for her, please. Now, we have to support this institution. We have to listen, I grew up at a time where I went to Liberation Bookstore almost every day to talk to Sister Una Mozak, who groomed me politically. Gone. Then I went to Human, I did a book signing there. It was cute, cafe-ish, gone. And this will be gone too if we do not take a stand and create a movement to keep it here. So I'm going to ask this. This Sister Jennifer doesn't even open up on Monday. She opened up today because we had Baba Felipe coming in here. So I have to ask this from the bottom of my heart. I'm not a Christian minister. I don't pretend to be, but I have to ask, because it's only right. We're going to give her a love donation, a love offering. So I'm going to ask, it's someone, because my knee is all messed up, could someone take this hat, pass it around, and put in what you can, family, whatever you can. This is for the establishment. Also, we have books here. So when it's over, check out some of the books. I have books in here. Brother Felipe, we got to get your new book in here too. Could someone do this for me, pass this? Thank you so much. And thank you, family, for whatever you give. Give cheerfully.
Yes.
Nice.
Oh, Joanna? Yeah.
Nice.
That's a wonderful book.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, let's do questions.
Ready, brother? Okay.
I propose the animosities between Latinos years ago, a number of years ago, say a priest passed away.
Yes.
Whoopi goes over real life story. I said they wanted Whoopi Goldberg real life story.
A lot of Latinos presented that.
Because they wanted who to do that?
Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Uh-huh.
And I wonder, it seems like there wasn't much left when we go to presidents of the first of color.
all rightght
They got mad at that too too because this was If the person was dark, try to make them dark. If you can, but if you can't, look at the person was most important thing is the story, not anything else. We have that problem. Look at what we have. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's stupidity to try to get into those artistic questions.
They did that with the sister that played Harriet too. Big deal about that. She was born of Nigeria, but she's Brit, so-called Brit. And a lot of so-called African descendants of slaves did not support her for that. Yes. As the actress?
No.
She was in it, though.
It was Lupita, right? 12 years a slave.
She was in it.
She was in that.
She was in it.
All I know is Lupita is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
Next to her, you absolutely right, my brother.
You're right.
Next to her, you right.
Thank you, sister, for coming.
It's like years ago, seeing Washington, they served Marshall.
Right.
I don't know. We call it cultural appropriation. Who cares if Bruno Mars sings like Sam Cooke? Sometimes I think he sings better than most of the cats on the scene today.
Yeah.
That boy can sing and dance, and we have the
Can't
nerve,
sing.
and he's Puerto Rican and Hawaiian. Leave him alone, yo.
Oh, I thought he was Mexican.
It's stupid. Yes. Mother, did you call me?
So my question is, in 2020, why do you think that some of our Puerto Rican and Dominican brothers are still willing to acknowledge their colonizers, the Spaniards and their Indian blood, the Taino and the Boricua blood, but still deny the African grandmothers in their family tree? And then my second question is, I'm quite sure you know our brother, Joe Vuitton. Can you talk a little bit about the 1960s Latin soul? And then also, where can we find the documentary Palante? And lastly, my sister just left, you mentioned growing up on 112th Street. My mother is Geechee. She's from South Carolina. And she lived in building 20, and she lived in building 12th Street. And my father lived in building 16. So chances are, you know my parents.
Wow.
I lived in 21, but
Some McPhee's in the building.
Oh, that's your sister, Mark?
Do you
Do you remember
know that?
Chicken? The one who lived in
Uh-oh.
I learned to kiss from her.
Uh-oh.
Leave it alone. I was in the 6th grade. She brought me up into the hallway,
Uh-oh.
took off the lights. That's how we used to do it. Y'all remember that?
Uh-oh.
Don't put your heads down. You know it's true.
Hey, you know, gotta learn somewhere,
Gotta
right?
learn somewhere. And I was struggling. She said, stop.
It wasn't your fault. She took
It
me
wasn't
off.
my fault. She took me off. The first question, what was the last question? Last question was, Hunt 12 people. You had some others there.
Yeah, I said, where will we find the documentary Palante? And also,
I don't, you know something, I don't know.
you don't
But
know?
I would suggest that you call the Center for Puerto Rican Studies, Hunter College, on 3rd Avenue, and they'll let you know.
119th Street.
119th Street, yes, they would know.
I grew up in El Barrio right there on 120th in the projects.
I never liked those projects.
Uh-oh.
Okay, you grew up around there?
Yeah, I
Those
grew
were
up.
new. Oh, you talking about the Wagners?
Yeah,
the Wagners were sick.
It's crazy over there.
Yeah.
And lastly, Latin soul music, our brother Joe Vuitton. Can you talk about that?
that
I'll tell you
Latin soul
something.
music.
Joe Bataan is a black Filipino. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, Eddie Palmieri.
Remember that Eddie Palmieri. Remember, folks, Latin Boogaloo was a mixture of Puerto Rican and R&B. But Eddie Palmieri came out with a song called Azúcar. 8 minutes long, and everybody in the project stands for it. If you came from Beaufort, South Carolina, from Asheville, North, whatever it is you came from, whatever it is, you had to dance Latin. That's the way it was. Dapper Dan shocked me. You know who Dapper Dan is? He came to one of our street festivals and he dances better than me. Not that I'm a good Fred Astaire, but he dances. He said, "Boy, when I grewp, everybody had to dance. The number runners had to dance. The dope dealers had to dance. How you'reme to dance? By the same token, if you who came from Puerto Rico and you never heard Smokey, and that couldn't dance to Sam Cooke, girls wouldn't dance with you. So we adapted to each other's cultures very, very well, and we learned how to do it. By the way, Big Pun was Puerto Rican. Yeah.
Sammy Davis Jr. is Puerto Rican. Reggie Jackson's Puerto Rican. I can go on down the line. It's amazing how many people. Zoe Saldana is Dominican. She admits it. What's her name? The one who plays crazy all the time. White man can't jump.
Yeah,
Rosie Perez's.
She's Puerto Rican.
She's Puerto Rican.
Cesar Morales. Esai Morales.
Yeah.
Benjamin Bratt.
We don't exploit them. We don't let people know. I don't know why. Because everybody else does that. That's a Mexican. That's a no. Zoe Saldana is Dominican, by the way, and she's fine as all get out. God, I wish I could meet her. But anyway, yes, we have tremendous assets in our community. What we have to do is use them. I would hope that as we get older and as we get wiser, we can go to our artists and ask them to contribute to a fund because it's not what we help. By the way, I should tell you that Mark Anthony la chiquitita, Jennifer Lopez contributed a lot. Yeah. I should let me talk about because she is fine. They contributed a lot. When they went to investigate the books, they couldn't find the money. I don't know what it is about my people. They could not find the money. They still looking for some of that money from Hurricane Maria. There was another question you asked.
The first question was, why do you think in 2023 some of our Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, they're going to claim their colonizers, and they'll claim the Indian part of their culture, but they don't want to talk about the African grandmother in their African tree.
And let me tell you, it took almost 50 years to claim the Indian, the Native American. It took us a long time to even do that. If you're fed a narrative that anything black is wrong, and you continue that narrative for 100 years, it's very difficult to get kids to move away from it. They did an experiment with Puerto Rican, a brown doll, and a white dog in front of them. And they said pick the dog you would like the most inevitably the most inevitably they went to work with. To this day in Puerto Rico, blonde hair, blue hair, blue eyes. The funny thing is that those very same people, the blonde hair blue eyes, are more African than some of the blacks.
Jerry Gonzalez was a white was a boy for all intents and purposes. That boy would put that gun between his legs, and my God, he legsed and my God. The Spanish have continued by colorure If you have African in you, the more the more more all the get, you gettingnessation > You understand that? So all the the mothers So all the 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 othered I want want to be betteruretedededrededededededededededed better That's the way it it wased wasededededededededededededededededededededededdedededededededede country too but but The Spanish colonies But let me me me
So
You need to, it's all about publicity. It's all all about publicity. You got to be branded. I'll make it a regular part of the program's.
Very good.
Because Latinos need need Latinos need, a lot of them. A lot of them are very intimidated about black people. A lot of them are very intimidated about black people. A lot of them are very intimidated about black people.
You papers. Remember, when we came to this country, we were 5'4". 4. I knew a kid who came from Georgia who was 6 feet in the 6th grade. We were not up for fighting it before. So we were not up for fighting it before. So we were not up for fighting it before. Come on now. Comeon noww'Never get intimidated. It's like, by the way, you maybe be'vevevevehvevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevevegege. And if you talk to the right right way, you're're're're're're talk to but a lot of them scared. Dominicans are up here. You don't see don't don't bothers me. gotce
That I go to go go I I go go
can't say.
Yeah are Okay. Really really? Reallyally?
Oh man, Wadley Junior Junior That was was the the otherd was was was
That was crazy too. That was on 99 or something like that. If you defined the gangs by the school base they had, in Brooklyn had certain had certain'snsdd the 'dschoolslslsls the schools. They had a a group group all the every in every had a a chaplain chaplain. Fort Green had one. Albanyy had one. All of them themhose of course those're'rehosehdsse'sed the it it was was it it washose are it was it was it was are it it was guys It was was loving't't't't ithhhd itll'thwhh it Heavy. Raging Bull. He used onid h
they was  was2  was 2 2 was in some was even some was was ght
but he but he ame
Free Madison Square. And I'm tellinging you, the guys who fought. They know how to fight. The role that is only coexist unity.
They're're're're're'rell that are here, the the factt that, when we we go to 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 we presidential election what do you you think do you think you think think we
I'm just saying, so that's we're talking about some, we're talking about some
of the vision, in terms of where it is that all of these groups are going. I think the Dominicans pretty much have what they want, and this is where I'm coming from. I'm definitelyly definitelyelylyhitytytyhtytyhtyty definitely 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 what? Cultureally. Staten Islanded
Oh, definitelyly,
vocationalal.
we can, we can,
But we we build our own
African-centered.
I used to learn about your history, about your your history, about your your middle school.
I used to middle school. I used to middle school. I used to middle school. I used to middle school. I used to middle school. I used to eachc culture, right?
Each other, absolutely, But and what's the she  come telling? It's  3 o'clock. After meal till 5. I wouldn't even give them time till 5. I wouldn't't give them till  h 5. I wouldn't even give them time till h h. I wouldn't even give them time to go. I wouldn't give them time to go. I wouldn't give them time time to go. till 6 6 6    h 6 till six. That's  6  . as long as you can. In the community center I went to, you stay the community center I went to you stay in the community center I went to you stay in the community center I went to you stay in the community center I went to you stay in the community center I wou't to you stay in the community center I wouldn't 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 you stay in the you stayed till 6 o'clock and the councils were there. I'll tell youhell you, I was an Emmy Awards, and I tried to do I series on Cuba when they were accusing people when samemoneying people and in El Salvador. And I tried to get over there, and I was going to do a 5-5 five-5-live videoos tapeinging I said I wantted do one one on youth on youth, another one on on women, another oneoneon on 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 onhh and and then on on
T took me on the side. He took mean here. It ain't't't going going't't going
brotherherhh get a whole bunch of literature and and you got to to publicity. And you know what they what they
Yes.
That's why we
educationationationationationation.
School.
They teach civics. They don't know it. They don't know what the you
But if we focus basically for us to unite, but if we focus on that, listen, this is what we want, what we need to do, okay? And where do we need to go and get those resources? Demand those resources, and we build how we think that it should be built. That's all.
But sis, why do you think white folks are going to give us why do you think white folks are going to give us anything? Their job is I'm not saying we shouldn't try.
The biggest point that I'm making is that we need resources.
Yes,
We
we do.
can build anything that we want. Wherever it comes from, whatever, we need
Hold up.
resources.
Okay, now let me tell you something. This area, what is it, 140, whatever left.
Instead of Sugar Hill.
This area, Sugar Hill, used to be the biggest cocaine center.
Hello.
Yeah. You know how many billions were spent here? I know because I used to come top here. The Dominicans used to have cars parked outside, double parked from George Washington Bridge all the way to 125th Street. We spent billions on cocaine, billions on crack. Where's the money? What is there to show for it? At least the Cubans took all that drug money and built the new Miami. Look at the skyline. That's all coke money. Why is it that we can get skied up, but we can't save a little bit of that? Why can't we take 10%? If we can go to all the hustlers and give us 10% of your earnings, let him say all he wants. And if it gets tough, we beat him up. But the point is, let's get some money. Now believe that. If we got 10% of all the drug sales, we have a new Harlem. Do you know all these buildings are being bought up in 10, 25 years? This is going to be all white.
Less than that.
Gentrified. You won't even notice it anymore. It's serious. East Harlem is the same thing. The same thing. I'm scared for what's happening to our people. And I believe that we don't have a group organized and forceful enough. Rousseau said, very famous French philosopher, said sometimes you have to force people to be free. Now, I don't mean we have to be Toussaint Louverture, but I think every once in a while, you got to smack people upside the head. And say, you are going to go. Huh?
Gotta make it uncomfortable.
Make it uncomfortable for them. It's silly what we're going through here. But we got the money. By the way, how much do we spend over at, not Londell, well, how much do we spend in the store? And then they have to say we're robbing from them. Amazon. We need to change our buying habits. Something is wrong with us. Then we go, then the kid gets a big drug sale and he goes buy a big old necklace worth $3,000. So where'd you get it? My sale.
We don't talk about the sneakers.
Oh, listen, please.
Doesn't it seem though
By the way,
like
do you know how much those sneakers cost in Vietnam where they make them? $3. $3.
doesn't it seem to you, Baba Felipe, like the critical question is consciousness? Because everything we're talking about comes back to an agreement amongst people. So for instance, if I see a brother getting jumped, I jump in automatically, that's consciousness. I see a sister getting beat, I jump in, that's consciousness. The sister's bookstore, I come in and support, that's consciousness. It seems to me that our consciousness is at an all-time low.
Yes, it is.
And that seems to be, there needs to be a lot of effort around a nationalistic, pan-Africanistic, we're in this together-nistic.
Yeah.
If we don't work, we gonna die-nistic soon-nistic consciousness. And that's what I think what we're trying to do here is raise that.
Raise
and we'll
consciousness. On the buses, I get on the buses and I hear these kids. And look, I use profanity too, but this is too much.
Yeah, for sure.
The little white lady is 87 years of age. You should not be scaring her half to death. You shouldn't be scaring your own people half to death. I'm on the bus, they started screaming and laughing and carrying on. And it's okay, it's youthful exuberance after school. I said, can you all take it down a little bit? Man, who are you? Now, they don't know who I am. They don't know what I've done. They don't know what I'm capable of. So I said to myself, Felipe, be careful, because if you hurt one of those children, you're 76, this kid is 16, he's dead. Now, because I'm not going to just fight him. Because that's what happens. When you lose it, you lose it. Now, imagine y'all see me on the cover of the New York Post or something. Local leader kills kids. You won't know what happened.
Right. You're right.
All you said, what got into Felipe? What's wrong with him? Why did he kill that boy? But you don't know how I was threatened. This is ridiculous what's going on. We need
We need consciousness, you're right. Elders need to be respected, number one. For sure. Women need to be respected for sure. There was a time when I was going through the streets, and if Miss Scott saw me hanging out trying to smoke hemp cigarettes, because those are the mildest at the timeE, she could come up behind me. I've never hearded her a smack me. What are you doing out here? What are you doing? You better get your 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 ass to school? Nowwhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhh because
And
All of walkthroughh throughhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhthroughhhh
it is. I don't say this a lot, but being New York City Education Officer every year, I I unite a a lot 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 especiallyly speak because forureh for because cominginginghinghinghinghinghinginginginginginginginginginginginginginging and 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 I used to think thinkh to thinkh think 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 thinkh thinkh think think coming from 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 think
become that message back. Okay, and what I would suggest, because as a black Puerto Rican, I knew as a child that black people spoke different languages. That it wasn't just Spanish. Because part of my family, they had some folks from St. Kitts, St. Thomas, and they spoke English. So my father was born and raised in Puerto Rico, but she spoke English because she spoke St. My grandfather, one of those purple black folks in Puerto Rico. So I spoke English. But I also have discovered that when someone hears me speak Spanish,
they still have a question mark.
Are you really black?
How in the How you speak
and then having like That's right. Okay, we don't have the money. So those that we're thinking, how can we get this, use that gold mine that is right, forget that. A black mine, because even those Negroes that don't Negroes, because I to me was the empowering word. I had issues with the term Negro,
Yeah. Yes,
design. Like you said, the Puerto Rican Indians gonna throw down.
Yes.
Because you're not gonna be a punk the next day. Okay? And the other thing that I wanted to offer that in America the theing's the worst thing for an African descendant person for an an out how black he hee he it because because it was it wash's't's'th'sh's what's's was was was's's what's was 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 ededededededrededreddereddedededededededededededeeded anded and then. So the the reversaledal part 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 in Puerto Rico in Spanish-speakinging countries are how much you 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 could be treated better It's the same. Okay, one if you'reh if you don't define yourself this way way, if you you don't define yourself this way, you are good to go. One drop of white blood, it makes you better than if you have one drop of black blood. Yeah, they are. The whole bunch of them, we don't see it. They are. Let me tell you something. The Irish, there was no designation for color in this country for a long time. You couldn't say somebody came from, somebody was black or white, you were Scottish, you were Irish, you were Irish. You were whatever. Suddenly it became that because of the slave revolts, we can't have this. We got to find a way to divide them. So they took the Irish and they made them managers of the blacks.
Yeah.
And they did that with the police force too. Yeah, ex English. So now, I think you're right. Something you said, Sid, if we could just raise our kids to understand these things, sometimes your kid can be an emissary. Your child can be an emissary. The other thing is this, black folks, listen to me. When you see a little like a kid acting like a fool, why not approach him and talk to him? Don't think it's just black kids that you have to approach. I speak to black kids, I speak to Puerto Ricans. Stick to these children. You've got to speak to these children. Sometimes they'll curse so loud just to get your attention. They do it on the bus, they do it on the subway. It's amazing. I get on the subway, and I go next to them and I put my hand on the pole. You know that they get upset when you touch their hand. They go like this. They get more upset than white folks. Listen, we need to begin to love these children. Love them into consciousness. I believe it's possible. Had it not been for you, black man, I would have never gotten to this point. Yes, I was going to tell you one of the things that I still practice is that the mere fact that I wasn't born yesterday or last week, it gives me an advantage. So when they start acting up, I have that pit bull face. Is there's one thing I've still noticed about young brothers and sisters, 16teen, 17teen, whatever it is, if I'm going somewhere and they standing straight, I have that look. They start cursing, taking the bus. I don't want to get into a word conversation with them, but I'm gonna let them know. Practice that on your side in my presence it doesn't work. You're not impressing me. Okay? And I would say to those of us in the senior citizenship that your safety is more important than anything else. Okay.
You got to be careful. You have been here before, so you have a lot of knowing. Today it looked like it's gonna rain. I'm across the street where it's sunny. Can I?
Really?
Yeah. When we went there, it was predominantly African Americans, African American roots.
there was Roberto Clemente.
Was she
Then you don't keep ignorance.
Yes yes. We do need to talk to our our
if your friend is talking that way, if your friend, you need to move away from that person. So Well, mommy, she's's really nice, but she thinks that girl hair is that girl's's's's girl hair hair is wrong and bullies them. That is not up to these kids a lot of times. We have to thesease Stand up to adults. We don't don't stand up. We don't stand up. They consider it acceptable behavior. You know what? Can I say something? Yes, ma'am. That's right.
Or the parent got some racist stuff going on. And
So we need a
in the
collective.
community,
Yeah, we need.
in the schools, and everywhere we see the problem with ourselves.
I'm with the board. I'm with the guy who's running the Department of Education is a guy named Banks.
Yeah.
He started. I started with him on that. I helped him with that, and he and I are in constant contact. He's a very good brother. He tries his best. He's overwhelmed sometimes. What's needed is a group of parents from the outside. We need a what do we call a citizens group of advocates.
Yes.
Who can go, for example, why should you go to school by yourself? If you took 5 parents of different black, Puerto Rican, Dominican, and all go to confront the administrator who said it's no big thing, that stuff would change. It would change. It's the same thing in gang warfare. If I have a real problem, I'll talk to my Puerto Rican and black brothers. But if it gets stupid, I call my Italian friends. And when they show up and say, "What's the matter?" they have a whole different attitude about power. Black folk get it. Oh, why do you have to bring veto in? I'm telling you, it's different when you bring in a collective of people that come from different cultural backgrounds. Hey, let's leave the kid alone. That's the way it's done. I don't know why we don't know these things. We need to, first of all, parents need to come together as well. Do you know your neighbor live next door?
No.
Do you sit with them and have rice and beans?
No.
In your building, I'm talking about. Do you know them? Do you know their grandmother? When the grandmother comes in, you say, "Hi, Miss Ramirez." You need to do that. That's what starts to what I call a feeling of love in the building. I know so many Albanians in my building, it's ridiculous. I know them.
In First Avenue,
On First Avenue, baby, the Albanians have taken over. They took all the pizza shops. They took over the pizza shops, Papi, from the Sicilians, because they were close to Italy.
yeah.
They like me because I like them, because they're so afraid of being rejected. Anyone who gives them love, they're willing to, by the way, they're the nosy.
Can I say something real quick,
Yes.
Mama Felipe? I just want to say this. A lot of times, we're around people and don't know who they are.
That's right.
And we don't know what they mean and what they've done
Yeah.
for our community. So I want to just say this. This man right here, Richard Tenko. When I started teaching in 1997 in probably one of the most violent schools in the Bronx, where it was slashing tires and breaking teachers' windshields, and I'm brand new, fresh out of Africana Studies and Research Center at Cornell, and I'm thinking I'm hot, I'm teaching, and brother pulled me in. School, I'm talking about the most violent kids. Knows how to talk to them, bring them right down.
Yeah.
The parents come want to fight them. What you say? Knows how to bring them right down. Just has a gift. That's not something you could teach. It's just a gift.
No, it is a gift. Teaching is a gift. Yes.
I say this because I said early on that it's not just black people having this superiority thing. We're teaching Latinos. Listen, I said Latinos can teach us some things, right? This is a black Puerto Rican man who taught me about how to teach black kids and Latino kids. So I just want to shout him out. And the institution we built is still there. And that's part of the answer is we need apprentice systems. We used to have a system where an elder who was knowledgeable took a young person and schooled them, and that young person became a master, and it keeps going. I think we need to bring that system back too.
A teacher is the greatest asset any community can have. I think a teacher is the real missionary, the real angel. Because I know a lot of the teachers love me into life. Yes, Papi.
Yeah, I want to quickly address, and I want to start by saying that there's no revolution without the youth.
That's right.
Now, I'm a teaching artist, and the reason that I became a teaching artist because I didn't want to put up with the red tape and the bureaucracy. Because they had no control, and if I started to teach anything about culture or anything about revolution, they would send me to Brooklyn. And the border grid is horrible, so I became a teaching artist. But now how does that work out is that they continue to oppress us because now they have teaching artists waiting 2 and 3 months for a check. And you're right, we need to infiltrate in the schools, and the way to do that is through poetry and music.
Right.
Through poetry and music. And why? And another thing about children, my grandson is 15 years old, and he says to me, "Grandpa, you want my attention? You got 15 seconds."
That's all they can go for.
Because so much, they're inundated with so much information, social media, all this stuff has a lot to do with it. But music is up there with food and water. It's a necessity. And the drum, you talked about the drum, my brother. The talking drum. I live for that. You know that.
He's a drummer. He's an excellent drummer. Power
drum in the house. I would love to play something. Go ahead.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
He knows how to play.
As a teaching artist, it's a lot easier for us to infiltrate to the schools because I don't have to follow protocol.
Right.
Even though I wait for checks for months.
You gotta change that.
I'm downtown in Chinatown teaching people bomba. Chinese women, and among those Chinese women, I find 2 Chinese women born in Cuba.
Wow.
When I'm around you, I'm Chinese. But to get kids' attention is hard, and the way to do it is through music.
Yes, sir. Let's bring it on now. Yes, sir. Love this. You start something, it's gonna be something. Love it. Getting a real treat, family. Those of you watching live, we're here at Sisters Uptown Bookstore. Got Baba Felipe. Good brother, please tell me your name again.
My name is, I like to say, like I told,
Let me put the other chair.
like I told a while back, I was at the Reverend Daughtry. Right, Reverend Daughtry.
Herbert Daughtry.
I was there with a group called the Welfare Poets. I was a big part of that group for many, many years. And like I told Louis Farrakhan that day, and he asked me, he told one of his people to have me come up to the stage to stand next to him for the last 10 minutes of his speech. And he asked me, "What's your name?" And I said, "My slave name is Angel Ruben Rodriguez."
But my African name,
Come on.
is Sarabanda Batalla Mundo Viticongo.
All right.
And I was scratched in the religion of Palo Mayombe with the patriarch enslaved Africans in Puerto Rico, La Familia Cepeda. I was also raised by a surrogate father, my dad, Baba Femi Akinlana, whose slave name was Albert Humphrey. And Baba Femi Akinlana was one of those drummers that was at the World's Fair in the 60s. And I'm in second grade holding some kid's hand like they used to have us do. And I'm looking at the drummers. And later on in my life, when I was 17, I was homeless. And this man helped me out a lot. And he became my surrogate dad. And I miss him a lot. So I have a big background with the black community. But looking Jewish and looking Italian, sometimes even the Latinos would talk about me in Spanish, not knowing. And then I'll come on and say, oye, mira, ¿qué pasa contigo? Thank you for the opportunity. And this is a quick lesson that I can do. And I teach with syllables. So I can play the drum, of course, on a 6/8 rhythm because it's a lot easier to teach kids with a 6/8 rhythm, which is African-centered, it's pentatonic scale. Not before 4 American. It's very difficult to teach that first. So 5 words, 5 beats. I can play the drum. That's all I need you to do, my brother. And like the brothers would say, you gotta, how you say, sample it. You gotta. Now, if you can, my motto is if you can say it, you can play it. Nice. Nice. You can play the drum. You can play the drum, right?
I gotta go, but I'll read you this poem. Now I'm animated.
All right. All right now. See, the drums will do it. That's all right.
This one is I'm pretty much
love
known
it.
for this. I hope I've memorized it well. Angel has heard this before. It's called Jibaro. Jibaro is the peasant in Puerto Rico. And this is a call to all of us to come together. The unification call. Jibaro, mire lo lindo, de los bosques de caña, caciques de luz. Tiempo es una cosa cómica. Jibaro, my pretty nigga. Father of my yearning for the soil, the land, the earth of my people. Father of the sweet smells of fruit in my mother's womb, the earth brown of my skin, the thoughts of freedom that butterfly through my insides. Jibaro, my pretty nigga. Sweating bullets of blood and bedbugs swing slowly to a softly strummed fire string guitar, remembering ancient empires of sun gods and black spirits and things that were once so simple. How times have changed now. How men have changed time. Unnatural screams the wind. Unnatural. Jibaro. Fish smells and cane smells and fish smells and cane smells and fish smells and cane smells and tobacco and oppression makes even God smell foul. as foul as the bowels of the ship that vomited you up on the harbor of a cold metal city to die. No sun, no sand, no palm trees. And you clung to the slimy rib of an animal called the marine tiger in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Did you know you my nigga? I love the curve of your brow, the slant of your baby's eyes, the calves of your woman dancing. I dig you. You can't hide. I ride with you on subways. I touch shoulders with you in dances. I make crazy love to your daughter. Yeah! You my cold nigga, man. And I love you because you're mine. And I'll never let you go. And I'll never let you go. You mine, nigga. And I'll never let you go. Forget about self. We together now. And I'll never let you go. Never, nigga.
Hey. I say. Yeah.
I think on that note, I'm going to go home and sleep.
All right.
My energy is set.
Thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for watching live. Stay tuned. We'll have more programs to come.
Felipe, what I like to do before some of you leave, I'm going to have Felipe sit here so some of you can surround him so I can take the next group shot.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm going to get the chair.
Sister, thank you for the incense, mother.
Okay. Matter of fact, Felipe, if you sit here, everyone can just
sit here on the kente cloth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Sister Jennifer.
Yeah, definitely. I get Sister Jennifer up in that shot.
Just stand.
Yes. Yes.
You can sit. Everyone will be safe.
Oh, yes, sir.
She's a Nubian queen.
I lucked out, man.
She's elegant. You didn't look out. You deserved it.
Yes, sir. I agree with that, too.
Oh, big G. Yeah. Yes. The wide one and the thin one. Yes. Yes.
Money Rock? No.